are we all this morning? Today's Tales from the Farm publication is called Old Truck and the Flood. Here's Old Truck here. And the story is written by the Tales from the Farm team of Jennifer Somervell and Margery Fern. And like all the Tales from the Farm publications, it's based on a true story. Old Truck and the Flood. Here we go. Old Truck loves his home with John and Fran by the Tongariro River. He loves the soft lap of the river. He loves watching John make flies to catch trout. Most of all, he loves taking visitors for rides. Across the bridge he chugs. What a beautiful truck, everyone says. John grins proudly and Old Truck rumbles with happiness. There's Old Truck there. Over the bank the wild river rushes. Down the street the muddy water flows. Into number 48, into number 46. The river has burst its banks, the neighbours shout. Closer and closer the river comes. Old Truck shudders. Go away, he shouts at the river. The cats come to join in too. But the river keeps on coming. A cold wave of brown water surges across the lawn and into the carport. Old Truck shivers violently. I'm not a duck, I'm a truck, and I'm stuck. Up, 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 the water rises. It snakes around his tyres. It slides over his axles. It seeps through his radiator and sluices through his engine. Help! Help! Old Truck croaks. Can you see him? He's going underwater. Poor Old Truck. Cold, slithery fish flip, flop, flap onto Old Truck's deck. Old Truck can't breathe. He can't think. He can hardly speak. He chokes. The last of the air hisses out of his engine. Help! He gasps. I'm not a fish. I'm not a duck. And I'm a truck, and I'm stuck. Far away, John and Fran are shocked to find out about their flooded street on the news. And they drive all day to get home. There's John and Fran. Oh dear. When John sees Old Truck covered in silt and mud, he knows the engine is wrecked. His heart bursts with sorrow and he stumbles away. 2 oily tears slide down Old Truck's slimy bonnet. For days, Old Truck hears shouting as friends and family drag sodden furniture and muddy carpet out of the house. Everyone is helping to fix the house. No one comes to see him. What about me? Old Truck cries, but no one hears him. Is everybody in the house? Summer turns to autumn. and dirty brown rust invades old truck's engine. Creak, creak, he groans. Old truck feels sick. He can smell rotten fish. One must be caught in his engine. I'm not a fish, he groans. I'm not a duck. I'm a truck. And I'm stuck. But still, no one comes. Old truck watches sadly as John and Fran's neighbours and friends admire their beautifully restored home. No one notices old truck. Hey, what about old truck? Nico asks. John shakes his head sadly. He's wrecked, he says, and turns away. There's old truck in his garage. Months later, the shiny new engine arrives. Everyone admires it. Nico and John can't wait to install it. All day they work on old truck, putting in the restored engine. Finally, John turns the crank handle and old truck farts a rotten fish skeleton out of his exhaust pipe. No more fish, old truck shouts with joy. It's getting a bit windy up here. Woohoo, look at that. Looks like old truck's back in business. Nico claps his hands. Right, time for a drive. Old truck purrs past the calm, clear Tongariro River. The terrible flood is now in the past. He loves the soft chug-chug of his new fish-free engine. He hoots with delight as he chugs across the bridge. I am not a fish, he shouts to the river. I am not a duck. I'm a truck, and I'm not stuck. So that was the story about old truck and the flood. And now here comes the fact section, the actual factual section. Okay, and I'll pop these pictures in at the end of the video so you can have a closer look. So, old truck in the flood. The Tongariro River flooded Te Herekeke Street in Turangi about 2 AM on the 29th of February 2004. John and Fran Somervell were away at their friend Anne Bosted's 50th birthday party in Hawke's Bay. Old truck was in the garage. Old truck was in the garage, the lowest point on the section. The flood water covered John's section to a depth of about 1.5 metres. 1.5 metres. Maybe here-ish, do you think? 1.5 metres. Again, get out your ruler and check it out. It's a lot of water. Okay, the water level inside the house was halfway between the floor and the windowsills, a depth of about 75 centimetres or 3/4 of a metre. The flood water was laden with silt, so when the water receded, it left behind a thick layer of silt everywhere. The water left silt all through old truck, in the engine, in the cab and over the deck. The acidic, volcanic silt was very damaging to the engine. John knew it would require a complete engine rebuild and major work on the whole truck to repair the damage. For 2 years, John could not face this prospect. It was only when John's brother-in-law, Nico, offered to help that John started on his 3rd restoration of old truck. The Tongariro River. The Tongariro River is one of the best trout fishing rivers in the world. After the flood, one of John's neighbours found a 2.7 kg trout in his driveway. And I'm thinking about an analogy for that. Perhaps the size of a lighter newborn baby, that trout. So when in flood, the Tongariro River carries large amounts of gravel and sediment washed off the central North Island volcanic plateau. The flood. The river ran over the banks below State Highway 1 bridge and flooded the delta between Turangi Township and Lake Taupo. 90 people were evacuated from Te Here Kirki Street and one house was later condemned. There were no stop banks protecting Te Here Kirki Street. Stop banks had been planned, but some landowners did not want them spoiling their views. After the floods, the stop banks were built under urgency. Floods. This is the section of the book that deals with what to do if you happen to be caught in a flood situation, which is always good to know ahead of time. Floods. Floods are one of New Zealand's most frequent disasters. They happen when storms and heavy rains make rivers overflow their banks or drainage systems overflow into the streets. Everyone is able to care for themselves better in a flood if they have a plan. Make a plan with your family to get through an emergency. Download and fill out an emergency plan for your household. Put your plan somewhere where everyone can see it, such as on the fridge. Preparing for a flood. Talk about floods with your family. Know where to go if you can't get home. Know who to call if you can't call your parents. Know how to reach the nearest high ground. And during a flood, listen to local radio for weather reports, advice and instructions. Move your animals to safety. Know what you need to take in a bag if you need to evacuate, leave home. Do not swim in or walk through flood water. Never drink flood water. It could be contaminated. I've lived in two places where it used to flood, at the bottom of the Pakari Hill and in the Awana on Great Barrier Island. And both times, well, particularly on Great Barrier, the road would become impassable. You'd have to wait for the tide to drop before you could go through. Recovery from a flood. Only return home once you are told it is safe to do so. Care for and reassure pets. They can be scared too. Go with an adult to visit and help neighbours in need. Talk with your family about how you feel. Disasters do happen and they can affect you. Talk to a trusted adult if you have any doubts, fears or difficult feelings. Thanks for joining Sweetie and I today for this story time. We've shared with you today Old Truck and the Flood by Jennifer Somervell and Margery Fern. And if you would like to win a copy of this book, please head over to our Mahurangi East Library Facebook page to see the detail for the competition. Thanks again to the Tales from the Farm team.
Just an old truck from the USA, John and Ray's old truck, made in 1921. Children laughing and loading hay, belly bailing, humming away, dogs barking, old trucks breaking. White rocks swimming in the meadow with two. Hey, what's doing? 72. Children growing up, tales from the farm. Girls are racing on their motorbikes. The dogs are barking, running beside. Old truck going 20 miles an hour. Just a truck in a shed with a rusting head, living with the spiders, living with the birds. Double the clutch, crunch the gears, turn the wheels, fight out in the air. You go on. Old truck is heaving under heavy loads, driving up Whenua Road for 50 years or more. He go on. Now the old truck story is full of surprises. In a fire, in a flood, ashes and mud, survivor 3 times. Where did that old truck's radiator go? Ray said, well, I know. It's in that trough over there. It's just a truck in a shed with a rusting head, living with the spiders, living with the birds. Double the clutch, launch the gears, turn the wheel, fight out in the air. So climb on board, ladies and gentlemen, a genuine hard-working old truck with seats as hard as nails. Just an old truck from the USA, Gordon and Mike's old truck. 2-ton Republic, a hard-working machine.
Thanks for joining. Thanks for everyone's come to join in this morning. This is Hemi. Hemi's enjoying teasing Sweetie. He's sitting just far enough out of reach, how cats like to do, and Sweetie would like to play with him as well. Off you go then, Hemi.